Okay, I want an equation written off that parabola. You have to find your A, your H, and your K values. Okay. So A, X, leave the plus minus open to the second plus K. You have to find your A, H, and K values on that. Okay. Okay, so the HK is the vertex point. That's easy enough. Remember, H is an X value, K is a Y value. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So you got to make your H opposite, so minus 3 and then 2. Now we have to fill in our A. Okay, now you have to have a temporary replacement for X and Y. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's your X, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's your Y. Okay. So I'm going to replace my Y with 5. My A jumps up because that's what I'm solving for. Then X minus 3, so it's going to be 6 minus 3 to the second power plus 2. So we got 5 equals A multiplied by, guys, you don't just minus the 2, you have to figure out what that is. It's 9 because 6 minus 3. If you're a terrible mental math student, you might want to just go like this, 9. And then you got to remember to add your 2. So yeah, you minus a 2, but you have to divide by the 9, okay? So it's 3. 3 equals A times 9. Then I divide by 9. And remember, it's top divided by bottom, not just bigger divided by smaller. I don't like that. It's second PRB. It's 1/3. So 1/3. I guess you could leave it 3/9. It has the same value. It's just not reduced. Okay. Second piece. Okay, then I want to go over this maximum area problem that we had in the last lesson. I have 1,000 feet of fencing to put around a turnip plot. So it's a rectangle. I didn't tell you that it's a rectangle. That's my fault. Okay, just assume it's a rectangle. What would the plot's maximum area be with the amount of fence I have? So a maximum area, a maximum anything. You want to draw an inverted parabola. You need to make a coordinate point. Don't put X, Y yet. Opposite of B divided by 2 times A. That's how we find the independent variable at the maximum. Okay, then I want length times width equals area. Okay. Now, what they gave me, the 1,000 feet, I'm putting that around, not inside. So that's not your area, that's actually your perimeter. So the perimeter is 2L plus 2W equals 1,000. Now, get the L by itself. So L is multiplied by 2. So you minus 2W, and then you minus 2W behind the 1,000, because 1,000 doesn't have W, so you put it behind. Then you divide by 2. So you have L. 1,000 divided by 2 is 500. Minus 1 W. So in the L quantity, you put 500 minus 1 W. So you're replacing L and putting in 500 minus 1 W. This right here just drops down and it's W. Alright, so if you want to put a 1 in front of the W, do it. So 500 times 1 W. And the 500 is distributed, then negative 1 W times 1 W. So it's going to be 500W, and that's negative 1W to the second. So negative 1W to the second comes first, followed by the 500W. Okay, so this is A. Remember, the variable to the second is your A coefficient. The variable is your B. Now, there's no C. That's okay. So the opposite of B is negative 500. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. I divide negative 500 by negative 2. I get 250. Oh, sorry. My variables are W and A. The variable by itself, that's your dependent variable. It goes there. Okay. you divide, you get 250, so we have to make this deer plot with a width of 250. Now to find what area that yields, you put 250 in for your W's. -1, 250 to the second power plus 500, 250, 62,500. Now the area on that is 62,500 square feet. So feet to the second, or you can write square feet. Okay, now the assignment. I did throw a couple graphs on the assignment that are strictly review. Okay, I am not going to do this one. Graph the equation, identify the vertex, axis of symmetry, and the range. How about I don't need the axis of symmetry? Okay. So we know we have x to the second. Okay, so it makes a u. So is it ABC or AHK? Well, this is ABC since there's no parentheses with a second power outside. So to find the vertex, which is the middle right there, we apply the opposite of B divided by 2 times A. So the opposite of -8 is +8, and then 2 times 2 is 4. So I divide 8 by 4 and I get 2. And that's your x vertex value. Now, 1 and 3, and then I replace those x's with those given values. So 2, 1 to the second, -8, 1, plus 3. I got -3 for my output. Now I'm going to do my input of 2. -5, and when I do the input of 3, I need to be back to -3. Okay, perfect. So I go right 1 down 3. I go right 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want to label that one 2, -5, and then 3, -3. Okay, there's the vertex. Now what's the range? Okay, so put y with your -5. From there it's going up, so greater than or equal. This is the y, that's not. Okay. Alright, now for those interested, you don't need to draw this, but the axis of symmetry is just a straight vertical line that cuts in the middle of the parabola. It's labeled as, that line is labeled as x equals 2. Okay. Everywhere on this line that cuts the parabola in half, we're at 2 on the x-axis. Okay, so that's ABC. Now, I'm going to be crossing out this problem. Now, this is another u. Anytime the independent variable is to the second power, okay, it's going to make a parabola. Okay, this is AHK. Good, I like AHKs because I don't have to think much for my vertex. The vertex is the opposite of H with K. Opposite of -5 is 5, and then your K value is 6. Okay, so I have that coordinate done. Now, 4 and 6. So now -3, and then 4 minus 5, close it, raise that quantity to the second, plus 6. Now 4 minus 5 is -1, -1 to the second is 1, then -3 times 1 is -3, plus 6, 3. Now putting a 6 in doesn't really change it because it's 1, but 1 squared is 1 times -3 plus 6, that's 3. Okay. So 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Okay, label the vertex 5, 6. So the y is 6. So on the range we have a y with a 6. And from there it goes down. So that's less than or equal to 6. You don't have to make the axis a symmetry, but if you had to, you go like there, and you just right next to it write x equals 5, because everywhere on that line you are at 5 on the x-axis. You don't have to do the axis of symmetry. Now, you do have a couple graphs to do like that. Okay, now you're going to learn something new. It's not new to algebra, people who had me last year, but if you're coming off the quarantine COVID from Algebra 1, I never did this. A missile is launched from a 100-foot platform with a velocity of 720 feet per second. What's the maximum height of the missile? So just like the maximum area, maximum height, you draw an inverted parabola. And you're going to use that same formula, opposite of b divided by 2 times a. I'll fill in the variables later. We're actually going to do x and y on this one. Now this is how to write a maximum height. There's a force pulling the, and that makes sense. The missile goes up, reaches a maximum, comes back down. Now there is a formula to do maximum height, okay? This is what we call a gravity equation, because the force of gravity is what's pulling the missile back down to the ground. And this is what you do to write gravity. You're going to use x's, so you're going to go blank x to the second, because we know that to have an x to the second, the variable's to the second, plus blank x, plus there's going to be a constant on some of the problems, equals y, okay? Now here's how to fill these in. This right here is the force of gravity. Now there's a number that isn't even in this problem that we use for the force of gravity. And that number is -16. Now in some other science classes you might have used -9.8. That's meters. We're dealing with feet. We're in America. You want to use meters, move to Europe. Okay? So since we're talking feet, the gravity coefficient is -16, and that's on every time there's a maximum height problem, any kind of height problem. Now this right here is my velocity. Velocity is you can find that with your per. So the velocity is 725. This right here is my starting height. Now I don't care if you write this stuff on the assignment, you need to write it here. Your starting height's 100. If it starts from the ground, then that is 0 and that is eliminated, but it doesn't. Well, I don't have to multiply nothing. I've got my A, my B, and my C right there. So the opposite of B would be -725, and on bottom we have 2 times -16. 2 times -16 is -32. Then I take -725 divided by -32. Okay, round that to the nearest hundredth, so it'd go 22.66. And you are using x and y now. Y is the dependent variable, x is independent. Now please write above x and y what these stand for. X is the time, which is seconds. Y is the height, which is feet. Okay. So I got 22.66, so it took 22.66 seconds to get to its max height. Now to find the actual max height, we just replace these x's with 22.66. I don't care if you write this out, I'm just showing you how it works on the calculator. Okay. So -16, 22.66 to the second, plus 725, 22.66, plus 100. 8,312.89. Okay, that's your answer. Label would be feet. Okay, I'm going to do another one. A football is kicked off the ground with a velocity of 100 feet per second. What's a football's maximum height? Okay. So to write an equation off for maximum height, we go blank x second plus blank x plus blank equals y. Now we put in the coefficients and the constant if there is one. Okay. This is your gravity force. That's always negative 16. That's not going to be in the problem. This right here is your velocity. It's how fast it's traveling. It's always the per. It's 100. This right here would be the starting height, which would be fine, but I don't have a starting height, so it's 0, and then you get rid of that. Okay. Okay, now the variables are x and y. Now please put what these stand for. X is the time, seconds. Y is the height, feet. X is always your time. So opposite of b, negative 100. Then I take 2 times negative 16. That's still negative 32. So I take negative 100 divided by negative 32. I get 3.125. You can put that or just 3.13. So it takes 3.13 seconds for the football to reach its maximum height. Okay, then find your feet. You simply substitute 3.13 into the equation for x, or 3.125 if you want to get more specific. Okay, figure it out. $156.25. Now in surmisation, once you get that drawn, the maximum height, you just go blank x squared, blank x plus blank equals y. Okay. Gravity, negative 16. Velocity is a feet a per, and if you had a starting height, you place that there. Okay. And then you have your A, B ready to go. Remember, you're using x and y in the gravity. That's what I like to do. Mr. Larson, instead of this, he likes to use t, t second, t, and then he likes to put an h there for height. So if you could do it that way, it's the same thing. Okay, so it'd be ht, h for height, t for seconds. I like x and y. Now this sets us up for next week. You got to find this product. Okay, x minus 3 times x plus 7. This is what we call binomial. A binomial is two terms, x and negative 3, that we can't combine because we don't know the x value, and that's a binomial. This is how you multiply binomials. It's quite easy. You circle your x. If you want to put a 1 in front of it, do it. I don't care. If you want to put a 1 in front of that, fine. Then you take 1x times 1x and 1x times 7. Now I'm going to show my work over here. Now I'll figure those out in a bit. I cross that out. Now I take negative 3 times 1x and negative 3 times 7. That is a negative 3 times the same two things. Now you figure out these products. So 1x times x, x second. You have 1 times 7, 7. That'd just be 7x. Negative 3x, negative 21. Now, I'm going to draw out spaces starting with x second. That has to come first. So for x second, we have 1. For the x's, we have these two. They need to be added. 7 plus negative 3 is 4, and then we have negative 21. Now, a couple things I want you to do. If you have any x with a 1 in front of it, you need to take it off and just write x to the second plus 4x, and then plus negative 21. If it's plus negative, you just write minus 21. That's the simplified answer. Again, if it's 1, you take it away. Okay, next problem. That's a binomial times a binomial. This is known as the FOIL method, by the way. FOIL, when I say FOIL, you're taking a binomial times a binomial. First, outer, inner, last. But that's confusing to a lot of people. So you just distribute 1x to 1x, 1x to negative 5. Okay, that's done. Negative 4 to 1x, negative 4 to negative 5. So it's 1x second, negative 5x, negative 4x, and positive 20. So x second, x constant. So for x second I have 1, which I will be taking off here in a moment. X's, I need to combine these. Negative 5, negative 4 combines to make negative 9. It's combining like terms. These are like terms. This is not. Then you have 20. Take the 1 off the front, so it's x second minus 9x plus 20. Okay, next problem. Binomial, binomial. You can't combine these. You don't know what x is. You can't combine those when you don't know what x is, because that has an x. That's multiplied by x. That isn't. Multiplied by x. That isn't. They're not like terms. So I take 4x times 2x, 4x times negative 6, 5 times 2x, and 5 times negative 6. So it's 8x second, negative 24x, 10x, and negative 30. So x second is 8x. You combine those, it's negative 14. Negative 30. Now you can't take the 8 away, it ain't a 1. So it's 8x second minus 14x minus 30. Okay. And next. Again, that's multiplied by x, that isn't. That's called a binomial. Binomial. 2x times 6x. 2x times 1. That's done. Then negative 3 times 6x. And negative 3 times 1. So it's 12x to the second, 2x, negative 18x, and negative 3. So x second, x constant. So x second's 12. X, you combine those, that makes negative 16. And the constant, you have negative 3. So you have 12x to the second minus 16x minus 3.